Why did I choose to make a video of myself shooting my bow and arrow like a samurai warrior? Just wondering. Yoko Ono was the daughter of a very wealthy businessman, as far as I know, and she married a guy from the lower class. I think John Lennon was lower class. His father was a merchant seaman. Okay, so she marries him, but John Lennon was a world famous musical phenomenon. Okay, so in that way, he was a match for Yoko Ono. Now, if Bishuasi is a descendant of a famous samurai clan, and I am lower class like John Lennon, in no way am I comparable to John Lennon. Okay, so how is it? How are things going to work between somebody like Bishuasi, who might compare to Yoko Ono, when I'm no comparison to John Lennon? How's that going to work? Just wondering. I checked online and I found that Japanese television presenters in the news will almost always use their real names. They don't take on stage names to protect their privacy. So, Bishuasi's name as a presenter is likely to be her real name. Now, her real name, depending on the kanji used to spell it, and that's something that I wouldn't know how to investigate, but maybe I will sometime in the future. Right now, I don't know how to look into that. But if Bishuasi spells her real name like the famous samurai clan that spells its name a certain way, she may be a descendant of this famous samurai clan. Now, this helmet I'm wearing, why am I wearing a construction helmet? Well, I've said in some of the recordings that often I do things unconsciously that turn out to be highly illuminating. My conscious reasons for doing these things, since I've lived in this life of abuse where I'm attacked from childhood on, completely ridiculous reasons. Attacked because, for example, I'm in a family where, not knowing this, I am not the biological son of the father who heads the family I'm in. Takes me a lifetime to figure that out, but that explains all the abuse I come in for from this man while growing up. He knew that I was not his son. So, I've tried to explain how I will often give reasons for doing things that I believe in at the time, but the real reasons I'm doing these things don't become apparent to me till, the way I say this, it's safe for me to admit the real reasons. So that's the best I can do in trying to explain how whatever reasons I'm giving for wearing this construction hat here, whatever conscious reasons I've been giving, the real reason may be that this is a kind of psychic awareness on my part that is a clue to the identity of the person I've been calling Bishuasi. Me not being aware of that at all, consciously. That's as much as I want to say. So, I've been wondering how Bishuasi could be wealthy. Well, if she is a descendant of this famous samurai clan, I read online that many descendants of famous clans are not wealthy. And they're pretty much ordinary members of Japanese society, even though they are actual descendants of these famous clans. However, in this case, if Bishuasi is related to that part of the family that this helmet might be said to symbolize, that may be where her wealth has come from. Now, I gotta say that when looking for a companion, I have never entertained a single conscious thought about the financial background of any person I might be interested in. It has never been of any interest to me. Now, I will say that I went to a school while growing up that was populated by some of the wealthiest families in the United States. At the time I went to this school, there was no financial aid and it was very expensive. So I was one of the poorest kids at this school. My father was a very successful medical doctor in the upper middle class of Washington, D.C. Still, I was one of the poorest kids at this school. Now, I'm debating with myself whether to say more, but I gotta say that because of my family background and the class difference between me and these kids, I never developed any lasting friendships with any of them. And the reason I apart from whatever considerations I have now about the identity of the person I'm calling Bishuasi, it's been an accepted part of my knowledge of myself and the world I'm in that the reason I never developed any lasting relationships with these wealthy kids was the class difference between us. And I gotta say that in my own defense, I was never impressed by wealth. So if I met a kid at this school who happened to be wealthy, it made no difference to me. It didn't change my behavior in any way toward this person. So in no way did wealth ever color my view of character. My view of a person's character is independent of whatever monetary status this person I might be evaluating as a possible friend. It had nothing to do with my evaluation of that person's character. So that's another reason why I never developed any friendships, lasting friendships with these wealthy kids. It was because their wealth was unimpressive to me. My hero was my Italian grandfather, a coal miner. So a wealthy man, no, it was not a hero of mine. And I'm perfectly comfortable wearing this construction helmet. I am. And I've been wearing it all over the place every day. And I can give some very good conscious reasons for wearing this helmet. Okay? In terms of my present situation. Quickly, I'm not going to give them. I'm not going to give them. Nobody's asked, so why should I venture in that direction in this conversation? Both of my parents were from poverty, and their families also were working class. And so, as I say, that's where my heroes have been, in the working class. I'm not one who has been an admirer of the wealthy, and it was never my desire to become wealthy. I always wanted enough money to take care of my basic needs and a little more than that, enjoyment needs, but I don't care to live like a tycoon or what I would call a rich man. I have no interest in the kind of life that people might associate with the wealthy. I have no interest in that life at all. So, if Bishuasi is wealthy, fact, okay? If Bishuasi is poor, fact, I would like her either way. If I find out she's wealthy, fact, okay? Deal with it. I find out she's poor, fact. It's not a strike against a person that the person is poor. For example, when I was trying to meet someone to marry way back when I was younger, I tried to strike up a relationship with a cleaning lady from a South American country. She was a cleaning lady in the building where I worked as a printer's whatever helper. The lowest rung in the employment world, working in a print shop. I was like, there were like stacks of paper, and I would take one paper out of this stack, put it down, one paper out of that stack, put it there, one paper out of this stack, and then maybe staple them, put it to the side, one paper, one paper, one paper, for hours. This was what my job. So, to me, this attractive cleaning lady from a South American country, she might have become my wife, but she couldn't speak English. Now, I tried to have a relationship with her anyway. I spoke Italian to her. She spoke Spanish to me, but it didn't work. It just didn't work. So I gave that up. Now, I eventually married a woman who is about the same economic background as my own. Okay? Her family might have been a little wealthier over in her country of origin, but she didn't inherit hardly any of that wealth that her family might have had, and she's not gonna inherit. It's gone by now. So it was of no interest to me what her financial background might have been. And let me just say that I paid the last cost of her education at Gallaudet University. Well, I was going to marry her, so I figured she owes several $1,000s and she needed the money, so I had it, so I paid it. So she was not a wealthy woman in any way, and this mattered not at all to me. So I just want to go on record as saying that it kind of looks like Bashuasi might be wealthy, but it may be that she just looks that way. Because a lot of people have thought that I'm wealthy, and I'm not. I'm nowhere near being wealthy. So that's where I stand on all that. And I'm just trying to figure out who she is so I can try to get to her. I haven't been able to get to her, so I'm now trying to figure out, well, if I can drill down to where her identity is discoverable in her country, I might be able to find her that way. I guess that's what I'm doing. Really, I'm just basically asking questions and looking up these questions online to try to figure the whole thing out. And this is my summary for today. And when I say that recently in a message like this, that Yoko Ono might actually know her, that's the line of reasoning that's got me to think that she might be wealthy, along with things I saw in her behavior, which told me she might be wealthy. This is completely apart from any associations with Japanese samurai clans or anything like that. I was watching her presentations and watching her behavior, just the way she carried herself on camera. And as a result of what I saw, possibly because I was raised among some very wealthy kids while growing up, I was saying to myself, some of the things she's doing seem like the kind of things a wealthy person would do, okay? And that's as much as I want to say. I could say more, but I just want to say that much right now. And this had nothing to do with samurai clans or descent from this or knowing possibly this or that person. Just strictly watching the way she carried herself and the confidence of her delivery and so on, the way she spoke certain words. She has a Spanish accent, and I had a lot of Spanish-speaking friends while growing up in the D.C. area, a lot. And some of them were the sons of a very famous Hispanic historian who was on national news with Dan Rather all the time. So, I was in his house talking with him and his family, and, I got to know his family and other Hispanics like him, educated Hispanics, who I learned to hear in comparison with others. So I learned mannerisms, patterns of speech, intonations, and all this kind of thing. And as I was watching her, I was saying that she reminded me often of highly educated Hispanics, for one thing, and highly cultured, what you might call cultured Hispanics as well, like the family of this famous history professor here. Okay, so apart from Samurai and who she knows and so on, just watching her and listening to her, I was concluding already that she might be wealthy, but that too might be because she's like me. She also went to school with wealthy kids. How? Let's say she went to an international school while growing up. And at that international school were many children of the wealthy who were her friends. And she's very much like me this way. This is probably, from what I've learned about the way the relationships go, that you often fall in with somebody like yourself. It's not generally the rule that when you're trying to get into a relationship with someone, you get into a relationship with someone who's very, very different from you. Like you're poor and the person is the daughter of a billionaire. It's not likely. It can happen, but it's not likely. What's likely is what I'm saying. She went to an international school with wealthy kids. Wealthy kids were her friends and so on, and so she developed mannerisms of the wealthy. But I don't know. I'm just saying that watching her, I was coming to these conclusions, but the conclusions do not mean that she herself is wealthy. Anyway, as I say, it's of no importance to me whatsoever except as facts about her. Is she wealthy? Fact, okay? Let me deal with that fact. I need to know the facts. So is she poor? Okay. I've said in messages like this, I said, if you're poor, I got enough money to take care of you and my wife and our son, all three of you. Even though I'm not a rich man now, you'd have to live the way we live, which I'm not going to go into it, but I got a middle class amount of money. And if you manage that middle class money well, you can do what I just said, and it wouldn't be hard. But you would have to economize. You're not going to buy things at fancy stores. You're not to be going on fancy vacations, and you got to have a fancy car and so on. Okay? So, I said these things, and there's this. There's this, why have I been wearing this? I give a reason for it, but is that reason I'm giving consciously the real reason I'm wearing this? My experience in life tells me it's probably not. These conscious reasons are probably not the reason. One night, a young woman who might have been Bishuasi coasted to a stop in front of my house, took out her phone, opened it, and I'm not sure she called anybody. She stepped out of her car onto my front lawn, stood there, the light of her phone hit her face. It was dark. It was a few minutes after midnight, a symbolic moment. Why? You could say it was Cinderella now in the coach turned back into a pumpkin. And she was in a junky old car that might have been having car trouble, but it seemed to me the car trouble was a fake. It was possibly Bishuasi just faking car trouble to stop in front of my house and get out of her car there and possibly meet me that night. Anyway, her hair was fixed in the curly Q across the brow that you see tango dancers wear in South America, South American cultures where the tango is an important part of the culture. Now, what was the symbolism of this stop in front of my house? It was mainly Cinderella symbolism. It was saying, possibly as a message to me, I've heard you say that you think I might be wealthy. I may be wealthy from a certain point of view, the way Cinderella was. She was from a good family that had gone to ruin pretty much ever since Cinderella's father passed away, and Cinderella was left to the mercy of the stepmother that her father had married and the two stepdaughters, who took ownership of Cinderella's house and its waning fortunes. So it could be that if Bashuasi is a descendant of a famous samurai clan, she's not connected to wealth that might have come down to whatever descent she has from that clan. And after the stroke of midnight, however wealthy she might have seemed while appearing on television as a presenter in her country, in reality, she was just a poor or middle class woman from a South American country. I just checked online and I see that if this source of information is trustworthy, Bashuasi spells her family name using the common kanji characters associated with that name, meaning she does not use those famous samurai family kanji in the spelling of her name. However, I gotta say, although I did see online that television presenters for news organizations in her country tend to use their real names if a person wanted to use his or her real name but have a little privacy. If that person was descended from one of these famous clans and did not want to advertise that, that person could spell the name using common kanji characters as if there was no relation with the famous samurai clan. I'm saying that in this case, I'm reserving judgment when it comes to Bashuasi's descent from one of these famous clans, for various reasons, and that's enough for now on that point. Let me quickly add here that I didn't discover elements of my own background until I was around 65 years old, when I find what? That my family name is a common Jewish Italian name in Italy and recognized in Italy as such. I never knew that till I was around 65 years old. So Bashuasi herself may not know her own ancestral connection to the famous samurai clan that she might be descended to. I don't know, but I'm just saying that there's a possibility there. And I got to say that there are indications in her character, what I see of her character, that tell me, she might be related to that famous clan, whether she knows it or not.